From Las Vegas, Nevada, where amateurs and pros from across the country and beyond have gathered for America's favorite card game, the World Series of Poker. Hello, everybody. I'm Kurt Gowdy, along with a former world poker champion, Bobby Baldwin. Some of the most colorful personalities you'll ever meet are here to challenge each other in a $1 million contest. They've crossed the desert by car, by plane, to enter the dazzle that is Glitter Gulch in downtown Las Vegas, where Binion's Horseshoe Hotel and Casino can be found. This is where the likes of Texas Dolly and Amarillo Slim, Puggy Pearson, Sailor Robert, Dodie Roach, and Stu the Kid come to decide who among them is to be crowned the new poker champion and win $540,000. You know, this is a rare and delightful sporting event. This is sometimes eccentric, often extravagant, and always exciting. This golden arch is not an ad for hamburgers. It's 100 neatly stacked $10,000 bills, $1 million in all. It symbolizes the perennial dream of gamblers who find their way to the glittering palaces of Las Vegas in hopes of amassing a fortune. This $1 million can be found in Binion's Horseshoe. Visitors can touch the $1 million display and rub elbows with some of the best-known gamblers in the world. High-stakes poker action goes on 24 hours a day during World Series time. Not uncommon to see more than $1 million on the table in side games. Today, the World Championship game is about to begin, and when it's over, one of the participants will walk off with more than $500,000 in cash. We'll be right back. We're back for the biggest poker game of the year to decide who the new champion will be. The best player may not necessarily be a top professional or a man. An amateur won here in 1979, and another came in second in 1981. A former kindergarten school teacher almost captured the title last year. Several women have invaded what's been regarded as a man's domain. We'll follow some of these average Americans who've shown up to challenge the giants of the game. We'll learn who they are, where they came from, and why they're here. It's a festive occasion. Some bring their spouses along, others their girlfriends, and yet others pick up willing companionship along the way. Many dress up like peacocks. Some look like they've lived in their clothes for weeks, which indeed may be the case. The dealers are always dressed up for the occasion. Now, Bobby Baldwin, explain the rules of the game to us.
Anyone who plays 7-card stud poker knows how to play Hold'em, the form of poker we play in the championship game. The dealer gives each player 2 cards face down. After a round of betting, he deals 3 more cards face up in the middle of the table. These are called the flops and are used as community cards by every player. After another round of betting, a 4th card is dealt face up, which is called 4th Street. After more betting, a 5th card is dealt face up, known as 5th Street. When every player is through betting, the whole cards are revealed to decide who has the best hand and wins the pot.
Eric Drake has been gambling since he was 8 years old. He started off wheeling and dealing with baseball cards and marbles. He's now known as one of the best 7-card stud players in the nation. He's the tournament director of the World Series of Poker. And we asked him how players get into this event.
Well, first thing you need is $10,000. You post it anytime during the month, and that's the only prerequisite as long as you're 21 years old and haven't been barred from the casino for cheating. That's all you need to do is get in. You don't necessarily have to be the best player.
How many poker players do you estimate are in the United States?
They've taken surveys, and they estimate that probably between 45 and 50 million people in the United States have played poker at least once, and half of them play regularly.
Let's get to the action. Here in this early going, the tables are loaded. We started with 12 tables in the World Series.
Brandon Laddington. Jay Heimowitz.
Started playing for nickels and dimes, I guess.
Several players in. Brandon Laddington again. And it looks like Al's going to raise the pot. Al Ethier.
Where's he from, Bobby?
He lives in Las Vegas. He's a professional card player.
A professional card player, you mean poker and other games too?
Basically poker. Johnny Moss says, I'll wait for another hand.
These fellas play bridge?
Some of them do. Some of them are multi-talented.
Some of them play backgammon, chess. They just have those kind of minds. Good memories, analytical minds. This is the Irishman, isn't it?
Yes, it's Jim Langan from Dublin.
He's going to make a bet.
Well, you see Al there to his right studying, to his left.
What's your bet there? 10,000?
2 tens Al's got.
And the queen and the jack for the Irishman.
Al takes a deep breath. He knows if he doesn't win this pot, he's eliminated.
All right, here's the flop. Doesn't help either one, does it?
3, 8, and 9.
4th Street. 3 doesn't help either one. And 2 tens is going to hold up as the winner. He won it. Al stays in. He was just about eliminated. Jack Strauss, the defending champion. They call him Treetop because he stands an imposing 6 feet 6 inches high. There are a lot of players ready to challenge him right now. For today, he's the one to beat. He won the title in what was the largest pot ever in a poker game last year. Let's relive the dramatic moment when he beat Dewey Tomko for the championship last year.
Good Lord.
Dewey has an ace and 4 diamonds in the hole. Jack's holding the ace of hearts and the 10 of spades.
Remember now, Jack has the best hand, ace with a 10 for high.
Here's the flop.
The 4, 5 of spades and the 7 of diamonds. 2 fours. Dewey Tomko now has the best hand.
With 2 fours.
$1 million pot.
He could win it with 2 fours.
The queen of clubs. Jack Strauss needs a 10 to win.
And only a 10, isn't it? He got it! He got it! He got it! He's a shocked, amazed man. He is the world champion of poker, Jack Strauss, with that 10 on 5th Street. The 10 of clubs on the last card gives him a hand in the championship to Jack Treetop Strauss of San Antonio. Well, Bobby, that was one of the most surprising and exciting finales to a game that I've ever seen. Well, let's get back to the table action. The fellow with the beard just next to the dealer, Jack Strauss from Texas. He's the defending champion here of the World Series of Poker. And he has not, he's folded, he has not been getting any cards, Bobby.
Well, that's one thing about the World Series of Poker. It not only takes skill, but you have to have a little good luck and a few good cards.
All right, now when you're having a night like Strauss, when you're drawing bad cards, do you try and play, you try and force yourself to get into the pot, or you just lay back?
Well, you basically do both. You try to lay back, and occasionally you reach out there and try to bluff and steal a pot.
What's the biggest mistake you see inexperienced poker players?
The amateurs generally bluff when you know they're in trouble. They play very conservative when they've got a lot of money. So they're pretty easy to read.
We have more poker action for you right after this break. Binion's Horseshoe, the only casino in the country where the gambler sets his own limits. A few years ago, a gambler came in and bet $777,000 on a crap table, and he won. Nowhere else would that size of a wager be accepted. With us is the president of the Horseshoe and the tournament host, Jack Binion. Now, Jack has seen all the gamblers and has been here since the beginning of the World Series of Poker, including the first one when only 6 players participated. Jack's familiar with just about all the players in the tournament. And Bobby asked him to give us some pre-tournament favorites.
Well, naturally, Doyle Brunson has got to be the pre-tournament favorite. There's probably a half a dozen, Stu Unger, all the ex-champions, Johnny Moss, Jack Strauss, Dewey Tomko that came in second last year. These naturally have to be the pre-tournament favorites. They're seasoned players and the known players.
You mentioned several top professionals. How about the amateurs in the field?
I tell you, Bobby, anymore, the amateurs are really coming on. A lot of the young professionals and amateurs, they're just as good as really the old guys. They just don't have the name yet.
There's a defending champ, Treetop Strauss. Big man, 6'4", 5", used to be a college basketball player. Incidentally, last year he was down to $500. This year he's got 4 $25 chips. He's down to $100 right now. But he was down to $500 last year. He made an amazing comeback and won the title, topping $500,000. He needs a hand here, or he's gone. Unless he throws those chips in, has he?
He put in his $100. It's about a 5-way pot now.
So it's now or never for the defending world champ, Jack Strauss. Gabe Kaplan. We've got, what, a king, queen, 4 up there, Bob.
And Jack Strauss shows us he's got 2 9s.
2 9s for the defending champ. Now all he can do is watch. There's a queen that came up. 3 face cards up in the flop. Hasn't helped him any. And I would say if somebody's got a face card, he's out of it. He's out of it. And Kaplan's got the face card. The pair of kings wins it. And Jack Strauss, the defending champ, has been knocked out. Last year, Jack won it all. $520,000 for first place. This year, he is one of the early fatalities. He fell victim to bad cards. He'll have to wait till next year for another chance at the title. Fellow with a straw hat and a rattlesnake band around it. Right here at the bottom of the screen, your old buddy, Amarillo Slim, Bobby.
Well, he's with Doty Rhodes, Fran Lanigan. A lot of good players in this game. Tom McEvoy.
He's from Michigan.
Slim, what a colorful character he is.
He can talk, can't he? There's the flop.
6, 3, and a 5.
And the Michigan entry is coming out a little bit.
Well, he's only got one opponent here. Slim's the only one left in this game.
Slim hasn't done very well in recent years in this tournament, has he?
Well, he's been one of those dry spells.
Yeah. McEvoy stays in with him.
$6,000 bet. Slim's going to call it. Now, this is a large pot this early on in this tournament. The final card now, 9. There's an ace, 6, 9, 3, and a 5 on the board.
Uh-oh. And McEvoy means business. He's all in. He shoved them all in there. There's Slim's hold cards, a pair of 6s. There's a 6 in the flopper of the community card. So Amarillo Slim has 3 6s. For sure.
Here you won one time.
An ace, but I don't know what that other hold card is. What could he have, do you think? You fellas are good at guessing what the other fellas are.
Tom's showing him an ace, so the only way Tom can have the best hand is to have 3 aces over Slim's 3 6s.
There's an ace up at the flop. Well, Slim wants to find out if there's an ace in the hole. All he has to do is shove in those chips.
Quite a study here. He said, wake me when it's over.
There are 6s in the hole of Amarillo Slim.
I know he's using broke Mexican. That ace had to jump off that.
I believe he's asking for the clock, isn't he?
Tom's asking the clock.
Now they have 70 seconds. The stopwatch is on the table. It runs a minute. Then they give him a 10-second countdown. If he hasn't made up his mind whether to call or fold, he'll lose the hand. Is that correct, Bob?
Absolutely.
Wait a minute, count Spanish. Goodness knows trade.
He's probably been the most publicized of the players.
What happens next?
Slim said, what happens now? But he knew the 10 count was over, and McEvoy wins the hand.
And we'll be right back with more poker action at the World Series of Poker. Amarillo Slim has been recorded as saying he'd slit his throat if a woman ever won the World Series of Poker. He may need to sharpen his blade one of these days, because there's a young woman who came to the scene within the past few years who's challenged and beaten some of the best in the Texas bunch in no-limit games that are quickly becoming legends. She's an attractive native of Cody, Wyoming, who moved to Houston where she first met some of the poker greats. Barbara Freer is the other top woman contender this year. She's played in this big event since 1978. She is, in fact, the first woman to invade what has traditionally been regarded as a man's turf. She says that when she first entered the tournament, she'd never played Hold'em. 7-card stud's her game. Yet, she was in the top 20 finishers that year. She's determined to get her picture in this gallery of champions, and she vows to come again and again until she makes the gallery. Now here's the flop.
Queen 9 and a 7.
So depending what they have in the hole now, they try and get the best 5 cards out of the 7. And 4th Street's about to come up.
Barbara's made a bet. Young's 2 unders calling it. Steve Wynn says, I'll take another card.
So we have 3 players in the game. Exactly. All right. Here's 4th Street. 5 of hearts.
Not much help, but Barbara bets 2,000. Stewie's out.
So it's decision time here. Not a bad little pot at this stage of the game.
Oh, no, it's a good pot. About $6,000. Decision-making process here early on in the tournament.
What's he asking his competitor for advice?
Looks like it.
Whether to stay in or he folds. He's out. What do you got, he says. Do they ever ask to look at the whole cards? Not much, do they?
Only on occasion.
Yeah, even in amateur games they don't. So Barbara Freer is the winner in that hand. We asked Dewey Tomko if he found women players to be as aggressive as men.
I truthfully don't.
Well, there's still not that many women, but we still have some. And like Betty Carey is one of the pre-tournament, I would have to say she's one of the pre-tournament favorites.
I think that someday we'll have a women poker champion. They're getting better and better as players.
Over half the people that do play poker are ladies.
If it was equally divided, a woman would definitely win. But you've got 106 to 2 odds. That's why a woman has never won it. But a woman will win it.
Looks like Betty in this hand.
Yeah, she's surrounded by 8 men. That's when she's most comfortable.
What's the blue thing in front of her?
She brings a fan with her to the game. She doesn't like cigarette smoke.
Out of her own personal non-smoking seat, huh? I imagine smoking over a period of hours would really bothersome to some people. There was talk about prohibiting smoking in the World Series of Poker.
There has been, but they haven't made any agreement on it.
There goes Betty. Uh-oh. Hey, she's all in, Bob. She's putting every chip in now. This means if she doesn't win this hand, she's out.
That's the nature of the tournament. That's what the freeze-out is all about. Unlike a regular poker game, if you lose your money, you might be able to buy in again. Here, you're eliminated.
Once you put up that $10,000 entry fee. Going to be called.
This young man's from South Africa.
He's from all over the world in this tournament. Who wouldn't be? With $500,000 in first prize money. All right, they're all in, and so now it's just laying out the cards in this one, right?
Just showdown. You will just run them out. Here we go.
And here's the flop.
2 jacks and a 4. The
Another 4. 4.
And the final card, an 8. Eddie says, I've got an ace for high.
He has a pair, he wins. And And the South African had a pair of kings and wins the hand, and Betty Carey is knocked out of the World Series of Poker. I heard her say, don't clap for me, but she'll leave quietly.
She'll be back next year.
Well, players are dropping out more rapidly as the antes, the blinds, and the bets are raised. It's interesting to see that many of the well-known pros are still in the game. There's Chip Reese, Doyle Brunson, Amarilla Slim, and Dodie Roach. The World Series of Poker ranks alongside the year's major sporting events. The poker players, this is the Super Bowl, the Kentucky Derby, the Masters, the Indianapolis 500. It's the granddaddy of all poker events and the one everybody wants to win. Gabe Kaplan is known to many as an inventive comic performer and actor, best remembered perhaps for his role in the hit television series Welcome Back, Kotter, and several popular films. His reputation as a superb poker player has introduced a new facet to his public image that adds considerably to his popularity. The leading participants in the series consider Gabe an equal and respect his credentials as a serious challenger. Flop. Gabe a good player, Bobby?
He's an excellent player.
What's his style? Is he aggressive?
Awfully aggressive. He's in just about every pot. Makes a small bet here.
But he's folding. Welcome back, Kotter says welcome back, Chips. A good pot for him and a nice smile from Gabe Kaplan. Stay tuned to this station. There'll be more poker action after these messages. We're back in the thick of the action. The bets are bigger and each hand becomes more decisive. Right now, let's go to Bobby and Amarilla Slim for their update.
The field's been reduced drastically. I know you've just been eliminated. You've been in there with the action, with the other players. Who do you see as a favorite from this point?
I don't know, this boy that just came to our table that's playing good and he's playing real hard. I think that's important. George Huber, and now he brought a monstrous rack of checks over there. And it looks like he's sitting pretty solid. There's another player at the table I'm at, Dodie Roach, who is an excellent player. And now he has plenty of chips. I wouldn't make a prediction not having seen those others, but one of those two will be at that last table.
How about Texas Dolly?
Doyle, I just before we started this, he got involved with an awful big pot with that little bitty funky looking Irishman, the kid from Ireland. And the kid from Ireland had a flush draw only, and he missed it, so he bet him $46,000, wasn't it? Something like that. Man, it had some size to it. But Doyle hung for a length of time. There's a case where you could have called. And he had a right to stall. Doyle made two kings only. Ordinarily, you and I both know that's no good. I don't know where this boy betrayed his hand or something. Anyway, Doyle called him. So now, after that pot, Doyle has to be in front, doesn't he? It's close.
You know, most players' stories are too incredible to be true. Some are just average people who come here seeking a once-a-year thrill of high-stakes action. Jay Heimowitz is a beer distributor from Monticello, New York. He began playing poker for nickels and dimes 16 years ago. In 1980, he captured third place in the World Series and won himself $109,500. In 1981, he was in the money again, winning $30,000 for finishing sixth. He's definitely a serious contender for the title.
And here's the flop.
Queen, Jack, Deuce. Go ahead, check. 4 streets, a 7.
2 spades and 2 clubs on the board. Both checked again. Here's the 5th and final card. The 9 of hearts. Jay said, I made 2 9s.
He's got a 9 king in the hole. He wins the hand with a pair of 9s. Jay Heimowitz building up his pot even more. We asked Jay what meant more to him, winning the title or the money.
Oh, the title, without question. Without question. No question about it. You know, I heard a remark that, for instance, I know Crandall Addington, who's a businessman from Texas, as you well know, he really wants to win it. I've heard that he'd give $1 million to win it. You know, and it's sort of, knowing Crandall, I'm sure it's true. You know, the title, it's sort of would make you known forever, whatever. Or respect amongst your peers, which is really what the player really looks for.
Even in the America of space travel and computer science, there are names that conjure images from the Old West of sizzling cattle brands and marathon poker duels. Benny Binion bears such an appellation. In his Stetson and gold piece shirt button, he's a member of an elite group of men whose personal lives parallel the development of the American frontier. And we asked Benny what it was like to be a gambler way back then.
I don't know, it's a real leisure life. There wasn't so much business, there wasn't too much work to it.
What made you come to Las Vegas to begin with?
Well, it's getting pretty tough in Texas, and so there's a deal come up out here where I could bankroll a place, and I just came out and stayed.
Benny Binion is said to have the best run and most profitable casino in Nevada. We asked a few of the players how they thought he'd do if he were to run the country the same way.
Well, he'd be like Will Rogers. He'd just start a war, I guess.
If he ran it any way like he ran this casino, it'd be a giant success.
Benny Binion running the country, we'd get productivity back in our system again. If you work, you're going to get paid, and if you don't work, you're not going to get paid. That's Benny Binion. He's a go-get-'em, giddy-up cowboy. Let's go, let's ride him. And that's Benny Binion.
I'd close it and start over.
Here are some of the fellas who have been frozen out. Who's this one?
Oklahoma Johnny Hale.
Well, he's gone. Here goes your man from Peru. He's knocked out.
Jim Ray.
They applaud him when they lose. Unusual at a sporting event.
Barry Johnston from Oklahoma City.
Goodbye, Barry. Remember, they've all put up their $10,000 and they've lost it and they're out.
There goes Doty Roach from Corpus Christi, Texas.
Famous poker player. He enters here every year. Bye, Doty.
Well, Crandall Addington taking his last drink.
We'll be right back with some of the most exciting poker action ever. Doyle Brunson is the most feared and yet the most respected world-class player. He won the championship in 1976 and 1977, and he was the first player to win over $1 million in total prize money. A former college basketball star, he scoffs at the notion that the tournament poker doesn't compare to other competitive sports.
Well, athletics was a big part of my life when I was a younger man, and there's a lot of similarities in it, in mental toughness and self-discipline, just like in athletics. And it's just like, you know, a ball player is equal to another ball player in ability, but there's something about some guys that can stick it out and rise to the occasion that other guys can't. It's the same thing in playing poker.
High-stake games used to belong to the highly skilled professional players, the old heads. How do you explain that in recent years the amateurs have taken such a charge on this?
Well, it has equaled out a lot. There used to be a certain plateau of players, I'd say all 10 or 15 players that were head and shoulders above the rest of the players. And in the last few years, this gap has closed considerably, and there's, I'd say 150 or 200 players that are getting to be about equal. And the top players have kind of remained at the same place, but the younger guys have come up toward the older players, and the game's getting tougher.
We're at the final table, 3 are left. And at the end there is the veteran Dolly Brunson. He's out of Texas and lives now in Las Vegas, the pre-tournament favorite. And he's not only calling the bet, but he's going to put a little raise on it. He's after you all the time, pushing you all the time, isn't he?
Doyle loves to force the action.
How much bluffing do you believe, Bobby?
Quite a bit when you get to the end game, especially the final 3. 2 6s and a 7 on the flop. Looks like Rod Pete's going to take the initiative here.
McEvoy is folded. Are you a bluffer? Do you bluff a lot?
Occasionally.
It's good strategy now, man, just to keep them honest so you don't play one way all the time, right? Dolly's betting and fires a raise at him. What do we have in that pot now?
It's about 90,000. 2 6s and a 7 and a 4.
Those are the community cards. Each player has 2 hold cards. There'll be one more card came up, and then the best 5 cards win. And Dolly pushes more chips out at him.
Interesting things happen here down to the final 3. Looks like Rod and Doyle are playing just about every pot one-on-one, and Tom McEvoy's kind of laying low.
Well, you can see his chips at the end of the table. He has a good stack of chips. Here's the 5th card, the last card, and that's the hand. We don't know what are in the whole card. And Doyle checks.
2 pair.
Pair for him, 7s and 4s. And Pete is beaten again. Dolly goes on and on. Doyle Brunson has found his 2 little-known opponents tougher than he expected. Rod Pete and Tom McEvoy have shown amazing resilience. Texas Dolly Brunson, who wrote the book. Probably the young players have read his book, Bobby.
Many of them have.
Yeah. But they play it their own way, don't they?
Everybody has their own style.
What's Dolly's style?
He plays few hands, but when he does play them, he plays them very aggressive.
He means business. He comes right out after you when he does play. Here's a young man from the state of Washington, Rod Pete. Here's Texas Dolly. And Dolly's going to make a bet. Maybe.
Rod's betting about 15,000 here. Doyle's checking his whole cards. Shuffling those chips.
He thinks memory is a big asset in this game, but he doesn't have any memory of these 2 young players. He probably never played against them. He doesn't even know them. Amazing how the young amateurs are getting hold here in this World Series of Poker. It used to be the old fellas that had been around. Now you have young players from all over the world coming in.
Doyle's announced a substantial raise here.
Is he going all in?
Looks like it. He's stalking them all in. The red one's 1,000 each. The gray one's 500.
So if he does not win this hand, he is knocked out of the tournament. How much money is he putting up there, approximately?
About 250,000.
You're very quick at adding those chips. You know those stacks. $250,000 raise by Texas Dolly Brunson.
Rod's announced, I'm going to call you. Doyle says, I'm drawing in a diamond flush.
So he has 2 diamonds in the hole. We haven't seen what did Pete have.
Rod's got 3 9s. It's a classic hand of the 3 9s pat against the diamond flush draw.
He had 2 9s in the hole. There's a 9 on the flop. And here's 4th Street coming up. What was that?
8 of spades.
8 of spades and an ace. And 3 9s wins it. The youngster has knocked the old vet out. The tournament favorite is gone, Texas Dolly Brunson. And we're down to 2. And Dolly looks up there for his wife. Says, honey, I'll be home for dinner.
Doyle Brunson, the final hand. You got down to 3rd place. What happened?
Well, I was just trying to win a pot, Bobby. I figured that I had to win a big pot to get back in contention. I was beginning, I had, I guess, about 300,000, which I guess really I wasn't that low, but I turned a pair with the flush draw, and I couldn't be a very big underdog to any kind of a hand except a set of trips, and that's what he had. And I didn't make my flush, so here I am.
I'd like to remind you to stay with us for the climax of the tournament, and we'll be right back with these messages.
We're down to the final 2 here at the World Series of Poker. To my right, Tom McEvoy, and to his right, Rod Pete. Tom, I'm going to start off with you. You're in 2nd place. How do we stand?
Right now I have a little over 400,000, just under 40% of the chips on the table.
Does your strategy change when you get down one-on-one, heads up?
Yes, it does, but I don't care to discuss it.
Rod, you entered the tournament, 108 players to begin with. You're in 1st place. How does it feel?
Feels real good. Real fortunate to be here, as a matter of fact. Come a long way, as a matter of fact.
Rod Pete and Tom McEvoy are evenly matched. Either one could end the game at any time. And one thing's for sure, they're both richer right now than they've ever been before. The winner will get $540,000, and the runner-up receives $216,000 in prize money.
I think he's starting to crack.
We're down to the last two players. That's Tom McEvoy from Michigan. Notice the stack of chips each of them has. These are chips from 106 other players that started the tournament with them. The other players lost their chips, so they were frozen out. Now, big stacks of chips at each end of the table.
About 580,000.
Flop is hearts up there, Bob.
10-7 of hearts and 5 of diamonds.
All right, and a call is being made by Pete. Two young unknowns going at it in the championship.
Rock at 20,000. And Tom calls.
Here's 4th Street, another diamond.
Next card, the 9 of diamonds. 5, 7, 9, 10, 2 hearts.
9 of diamonds.
60,000.
60,000.
McEvoy pushes those chips out there.
$60,000. This hand could turn the tournament either way.
You calling?
Rod's announced he's going to raise it.
Okay, Rod called and announced he was going to raise.
Well, they've been playing for hours, for 4 days. They have to be mentally sharp, completely. Can't make a mistake at this stage. Utter concentration.
120,000.
Big race coming up by Rod Pete.
This is action. 120,000 more.
4 stacks.
$120,000 more. So what do we have in this pot now if he calls?
Well, he didn't call it.
He didn't call. Rod Pete has won the pot. They're just about even right now, these two uncles. The girlfriend's happy.
Mistake was.
2 players left. There's Rod Pete, State of Washington. Tom McEvoy at the other end. That's his wife alongside him. The whole cards have been dealt. They both have ample supplies of chips that came from 106 other players who have been forced out.
Raise it.
The runner-up gets a sizable chunk anyway, so he's going to do all right.
Call.
The winner gets $540,000. Look at the way McEvoy has his chip stack. All right, here's the flop.
6 of clubs, 3 of diamonds, and 4 spades.
And Rod Pete comes out charging. When you're down to 2 or 3 players, this is where we really see the big pots, and there's no messing around anymore, is there, Bobby? They come right out.
Both players here are extremely aggressive. Look at this now. Here's an $80,000 bet, and Tom's going to raise it all he's got.
That's a lot of money he shoved in there. McEvoy has put every chip now on the table. He has called Pete's bet and has raised him. Now that means if Pete calls and loses, he's out. And if Pete calls and wins, McEvoy's out and Pete's the winner. So this could be it right here, this hand. If he calls. And he seems to have some deliberation whether he's going to call or not.
Got me drawing dead?
Well, this is the toughest spot a player can be in. Do or die situation.
What could be running through his mind, Bobby? You've been in this position before yourself.
Well, he backs up, thinks about how Tom's been playing in previous hands. What he might have this hand. Looky here. This is the clock. Stopwatch they put on the table.
That gives him a minute plus 10 seconds more to make a decision. And if he doesn't make it by that time, he's lost the hand, right?
That's exactly right. 70 seconds. If Rod doesn't act on his hand, call the bet, Tom McEvoy will automatically win the pot.
Look at him look at McEvoy. McEvoy not showing any expression at all.
1 minute.
Some little hint, some subtle
2,
tell.
3,
But McEvoy's
4,
not going to give him any
5,
tell.
6, 7.
He doesn't know what to do, does he?
9.
Is McEvoy
10.
bluffing? Or does he have the cards?
Makes no difference now. The clock's run out.
Clock's run out, and he's lost the hand. And McEvoy sweeps those chips in. He is now in a commanding position. He has the mounds of chips to come out aggressively and play with and force the action. I'd like to remind you to stay with us for the climax of the tournament. And we'll be right back with these messages. This is Kurt Gowdy again with Bobby Baldwin. We're back at the World Series of Poker. You can feel the tension build as we approach the final hands of the tournament. And look at the chips McEvoy has. He's in a commanding position. Pete still has enough, though, to mess around with him, doesn't he, Bobby?
Rod's got about 300,000. He hasn't stopped betting.
So that means that McEvoy has around 700,000 in chips.
30,000 more.
Out he comes.
Rod shoves in 50,000.
Raise 30,000.
$50,000 bet to Tom.
Are we raising
McEvoy from the state of Michigan.
All in.
Everything's
Both moving in. They're both moving in.
Look at the white.
They're both moving in.
Can't watch it.
Tom's announced he's betting all of them. Putting Rod Pete all in.
Well, Pete goes in. This will be the final hand. They're all in, both of them. It'll be showdown now.
Count those down.
Count them down.
Put them down. Let's see what we got.
What do you got?
Look at these whole cards.
Both moving in. They're both moving all in.
All right, a pair of queens for
All you have to do
McEvoy.
is match that.
What does Pete have? He's got a king, jack, a diamond. So he needs a king or he needs diamonds in that flop coming up. Because a pair of queens right now is the best hand belonging to Tom McEvoy. Here comes the flop, Bobby.
2 6s and a 3 and no help.
2 queens is still the best. That's McEvoy. He has them. Here's the 4th street card coming up. A jack. That's a pair of jacks now for Pete. But he needs more help than that. He needs a king, doesn't he?
King or a jack?
King or a jack. The winner, he doesn't get it, and McEvoy has won the World Series of Poker. $540,000 first prize. McEvoy from Michigan is the winner. And the long grind is over for him. Now he's a hero with the wife. He was a little unhappy when he shoved all the chips in a moment ago. Congratulations to Tom McEvoy. Young Tom McEvoy from Michigan is the new champion, and we've never seen a more delighted winner. Let's hear what he has to say.
I'll say one thing. Rod is one rough, tough player, and I had to do it my way, which is a slow, long grind. And I have nothing but the highest respect for Rod. We were friends before the tournament. I'm sure we'll stay friends after the tournament. And I truthfully have to say that I'm glad it was me and Rod and not Doyle Brunson or any of the other Texans. I got nothing against Texans, but for years they think they're the best in the world. Well, I'm from Michigan, Rod's from Washington, and the Texans have got some competition. And if that sounds like bragging, well, I don't know. I'm just high as a kite right now. I'm very drained.
This is a World Series they'll talk about for years to come. 2 little-known players made the pros sit up and take notice. They also brought some new excitement to the World Series, proving once again that the hometown Friday night poker player does have a chance for his moment of glory in the rarefied air of high-stakes poker. For today, Tom McEvoy has won the right to have his name added to the gallery of champions here at Binion's Horseshoe. I'm sure that he and Texas Dolly, Treetop Strauss, Sailor Roberts, Puggy Pearson, Stewie the Kid, and all the others will be back next year to try once again to be named the poker champion of the world. Until then, this is Kurt Gowdy with Bobby Baldwin thanking you for being with us.
Very emotional experience. Anyone who's ever won a tournament like this before, I mean, this is something that'll last a lifetime, long after the money is spent and gone. I'll tell you something, I'd have given a lot of this prize money away for nothing. I'd have played in this tournament for nothing. That's the truth. Just to have the opportunity to play in it.
It's not the money.
Money is important. Don't misunderstand me. Money is very important.
But
I wanted to win this tournament probably more than anything I've ever wanted to do in my life.